I believe I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 19. Well, I remember going to the emergency room, and I don't think my mom was there yet, and they got me a room and everything, and I went to sleep. And then when I woke up, it was like a month later. I lost my kidney from lupus. Lupus destroyed my kidney. It was just a journey up in that hospital. People came to see me that sometimes I knew, sometimes I didn't, because I wasn't conscious. Me not believing that I couldn't walk. I mean, they told me I couldn't walk because I was laying in the bed for a good month and everything. But I can remember me trying to walk and just going down to the ground, sinking to the ground. And I'm a dancer now. You're trying to tell me I can't use my legs. They haven't figured out why or how I developed seizures. Some people, doctors want to say it was from the dialysis. Some want to say from the lupus or the medicines or something. That's the scariest thing in the world. Seizures, especially ones that you're conscious about. I'd maybe want to rather go on dialysis than have a seizure. This is a strong, powerful disease, and people go through other things too. And I can't feel that I'm no different than the next person going through something, whether it be a different disease or not. And so I think we all have to, decide on how we're going to deal with it and be strong about it.
It'll be about a year ago that I was diagnosed with lupus. The symptoms started in late April. It started off actually one night. I just woke up in the middle of the night and happened to throw up. Thought it was like I ate something wrong. But that progressed into 2 weeks of nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And within those 2 weeks, I did see the doctor, and she said I probably had a stomach virus. She gave me some pills. I didn't think it was a stomach virus because I just wasn't able to keep anything down. Wasn't able to eat, couldn't drink any water. So for 2 weeks, I was basically dehydrated. I lost about like 10, 15 pounds. So finally, my best friend convinced me to go to the emergency room since 2 weeks is actually, I waited too long. So we went to the emergency room, and they immediately inserted IV to hydrate my body. And I was there for maybe about 5 hours, so probably around like 8, 9 o'clock. And when the doctor came in to tell me that, she said that there were some abnormal test results, and something was abnormal with my kidneys. I just thought I was dehydrated. So she was like, "We need to keep you overnight." I was like, "Okay, one day I can do, overnight. That's fine." That turned into 2 weeks of me being in the Virginia hospital. From day one, drawing blood. They were doing basically a lot of the tests, come to find out, that they do for lupus patients. They never told me. I just kind of went with everything. Didn't really ask any questions. I really wanted to get out of there after like my 4th day probably. So just knowing that they had to do like a kidney biopsy. They were doing the 24-hour urine sample every day. They also did some like scan for my lungs. So they're basically doing every test for lupus. And then finally, maybe like 2 days before I was released, the doctors came in and told me that I had lupus. I was like, okay, that's not, I kind of knew about it, but not too much. My kidneys were really bad, so I would need to do the 6-month treatment. And when she told me that, I just started crying. I don't know, to me, just knowing that I had to do something that cancer patients had to deal with, I just didn't understand. I was like, but I'm 23, how can this happen? I thought I was just dehydrated. It just didn't make sense. So she told me, obviously, the side effects of the chemo, which would be losing my hair or thinning my hair, and I wouldn't be able, there's the chance that I wouldn't be able to have children because the medicine would dry out my ovaries, and, all those things kind of, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I really don't want to do the treatment, and I just started crying, at the doctor's office, and I don't know, just the thought of having to undergo all that it was too much. But of course, I had no choice. I had to do that. It's either that or, risk the chance of like kidney failure, or I don't know. I just didn't want to imagine what would happen if I didn't go through with it. So I started my first treatment, I want to say it was probably June, July. It wasn't that bad. I went in for 8 hours. They would first give me liquids to just hydrate myself. So that would be about maybe for 6 hours of the hospital stay. For the last 2 remaining hours is when they would actually give me the Cytoxin treatment. But that wasn't bad. They would give me the treatment and then give me more fluids, and they gave me Lasix, which would help me flush out all those liquids. So that wasn't fine. The doctors didn't really tell me about the day after how I would feel. So the next day, I woke up and I was just feeling very nauseous. But I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, it's probably from the treatment. It's okay. So I went to get something to eat, and immediately afterwards, I just threw up. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't eat now. So I'll wait a couple of hours. Same thing. So pretty much throughout that whole next day, I was really tired, nauseous, couldn't keep anything down, not even water. So I was just basically out for the next day. So that, obviously, I need to do 6 months of that treatment. And that's the way it would be. The first day wouldn't be bad. I would just go to the hospital, do the whole 8-hour procedure. But the next day, I just felt horrible. Didn't eat, just slept. And if I wasn't sleeping, I was throwing up. And it was just, the day after was just really bad. Kind of just realized that I cannot take life for granted. Just because I'm young doesn't mean that I can't get sick or that something can happen to me. And at first it was hard because I would look around and see my friends who are out having fun and meeting new people and, not have to worry about their face looking puffy or their hair falling out. So at first I would look at them and just feel envious. You never really know who it can affect and in what manner. When I do tell people about what I've gone through, they're kind of surprised, and especially considering how young I am, that's what kind of gets them. They're like, really, you've been through all that and you're only 23?